All right, so moving on to Avengers: Age of Ultron. I know this is a one that a lot of people don't like. Not that they hate it or anything, but I know a lot of people are very blah on this one or meh. And so I haven't seen it in a long while, so I was really curious to rewatch it tonight. Well, not tonight. I watched it last night, and I loved it. I don't really see the issues, I guess, because Ultron is not as menacing as maybe they would have wanted, and maybe they don't like the Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff romance, and I don't know. But I really, it all worked for me. I guess, as I said, like, unless something is surprisingly bad all of a sudden that I don't remember being that way, I really think that I either really like or love every MCU film. So this rewatch has been fucking fantastic for me, because the Avenger movies, the Captain America Civil War movie, and all that are so much better when you've marathoned them all and really pay close attention, because they just leave you all sorts of little nuggets and threads and stuff that they started over here and then they mention it here and here and here and here. It's incredible. The continuity and all that stuff is really good. There's some issues with it, but you can nitpick all you want. For the most part, it is all amazing. But so, as anyone knows, I have a huge thing for Elizabeth Olsen. I have ever since I saw her in Silent House Once Upon a Time. And she was getting little roles for a couple years, not a lot. She was only acting for a little bit. And then she got like Godzilla, and she got Avengers, and she was getting all this big shit. And I was like, oh, whoa, what the hell? She's going to be in the Avengers? And it's like, she's going to be Scarlet Witch. And funnily enough is that Aaron Taylor Johnson also is in Godzilla, plays her husband in that movie, and in this movie plays her brother. So, and they were like right back to back. So I got to play your brother, and now I got to play your husband. Must be kind of odd to do. So the Avengers are going in. They're attacking this Hydra base. They want to get back Loki's scepter, which has an Infinity Stone in it. The whole opening fight sequence here, you get the Marvel team-up shot again of them all from the side running down this thing. Cool. The action sequences here are all really good, as expected. I like the one where Cap like does a flip and throws the bike at a bunch of people. That's pretty kick-ass. Then Tony sends in the Iron Legion, which are all these like drones, and the townspeople there are like rejecting their help. You know, this is just setting up right here. You can just see the little plants of little seeds right now of Civil War coming to pass. Like, people are rejecting what they're trying to do. And of course, the way this movie ends as well plays heavily into what all transpires in Civil War, as I said. And so Scarlet Witch has this ability to be able to get into people's heads. And so she first up gets into Tony's head and makes him see all the Avengers dead. This still kind of plays into the Iron Man 3 PTSD thing, but it also kind of plays into his ultimate fears that he's going to let them all die and it's going to all be his fault, and he just can't handle that. You got the Bruce Banner and Black Widow romance in here, which really plays heavily in this movie. I know they don't really get to see each other again after this movie until Infinity War, I want to say. So this is really it for them. It actually all really worked for me. I know there's people who are like die-hard allegiance to comic book, continuities and source materials and whatnot. But for me, I'm somebody who's like, take the source material. You don't have to completely throw things away by any means. But as long as you're telling great stories and as long as you're sticking to the core, the heart of things, they should be able to have the creative liberty to rework and finagle things the way that they see fit in order to make these movies more work for film. Because there's film and comic books and those kinds of things, and the way they have these things set up, it works. I mean, I don't know, like when you cite comic books as your reason for not liking a comic book movie, I get where you're coming from. Trust me, I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix because of how much I love the book, but I try very much to disconnect myself from the source material and go in and enjoy a movie. But that's just what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people bitching about the Hulk stuff, the Hulk Romanoff stuff, and how it's not true to this and that. And it's like, I don't care. Okay, as a film, as character development, all that goes, and the way they act off of each other, their romance in this, I buy it. She's going to be pretty pissed off, though, when she finds out she can't have sex. We find that out in the first Incredible Hulk movie. He can't have sex, so I don't know, maybe Black Widow, maybe that's a turn on to her. Maybe because of what she had to do after she was sterilized, she wants, maybe she had to use her sex to get closer to targets or whatnot. And she's just done with sex. She has no interest in that. I doubt it, but you never know. And so we get to see the Avengers Tower now, formerly Stark Tower, which at the end of Avengers, it's just an A on the building, and I guess they just built a circle around it and called it a day. And so Tony wants to create Ultron. This has been his big thing. I wish there would have been some references in two of the other films. I don't remember hearing anything about this. Maybe he mentions AI at one point, but essentially he, being the guy he is, AI would make him a god of sorts, and that's like as close as he can get. Now, Jarvis is pretty damn close to AI. I mean, he is, but not the AI Tony's looking for. So why Tony wouldn't want to make Jarvis that thing in anyway, but I guess what they find is it can get them to Ultron. And so he has to convince Bruce to come in with him on this. And of course, Bruce being the scientist and whatnot, you got to have that talk that Jeff Goldblum talks about in Jurassic Park. I know I mentioned this line a lot, but it really does make sense for what's going on in that scene. Like, you're so busy figuring out if you can, you should, you don't sit around and think if you should. I know I butchered that line, paraphrasing a little bit, but it's just so true in this movie and every other kind of movie like this that plays with that, where tech comes in and wants to wipe out mankind, which is the plot of so many films, The Matrix, Terminator, like all the big budget movies. AI is never a good thing in movies for some reason, which is, a lot of scientists, I don't know if they've been watching a lot of movies, but you definitely get that sense from them that they believe that if AI ever became self-aware, they'd see us as some kind of threat and want to wipe us out. Not sure. I'm not sure how true that is, but like in every movie, of course, always has to happen. And then Ultron, of course, is born while they're partying, and he goes and he creates himself a little body, and he takes over Jarvis and infects him or shatters him because he's afraid of him, I guess. There's no Pepper or Jane in this movie. In fact, we never see Jane again, to my knowledge. I don't think we ever see her again. No, we don't. And Pepper and Tony are, just apart in this one, and then in Civil War, they're broken up. They're on a break, but then in Infinity War, they're just back together. I don't know. I don't know if that was just writing her out because she couldn't work at this time. I don't know. And you've got them sitting around the table. Now, this is a great sequence. They're all trying to pick up Thor's hammer. This is just them buddying, goofing around with one another, and that stuff works so damn well in this movie. The dialogue in this film is excellent. I think it's some of the best dialogue in the entire MCU throughout this entire film. So that I will defend 100%. But I love that, everyone tries to pick up the hammer, and Cap actually moves it just a little bit. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that Cap is such a pure soul that he actually might be, worthy of Thor's hammer? I mean, that's how Thor had to get his hammer in Thor, right? He had to earn it back by sacrifice and being worthy and whatnot. So I don't know. Is he worthy? That was weird that he moved it, and Thor is just like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, not even close. Great stuff. When Ultron comes out and he's talking to them, he is very like horror villain-esque. I love it. He's just like stumbling out, and he's like this whole line of like, there are no strings on me. Very Pinocchio. I guess they wouldn't probably have to borrow the rights to that. Oh, hit my camera. Fucking cameraman. No, I don't have a cameraman. And yeah, he just gets on the internet, and he's able to upload into multiple different bodies wherever he wants, which is just terrifying. I mean, the fact that he can just make so many copies of himself, and that you just have to deal with all of them. He does seem to make a lot of fucking bodies. I mean, I know he goes and gets them, but shit, are there a lot of bots that the Avengers have to fight in this. And maybe that's another thing people don't like. They don't like just, random bots that they have to fight. They want them to actually be villains. I don't know. It worked. It's just still action anyways. Tony actually says the words when he was talking about space and all that. He's like, this is the end game. So we actually get reference to end game right here. Ulysses Claw, Andy Serkis's introduction into the MCU. Obviously, he's brought bigger into Black Panther, but it's good to see him here, and we also get reference to Wakanda. So this is a few years before Black Panther. So man, they were really thinking ahead with this shit. And vibranium as well, which we know Cap's shield is made out of. And freaking now. Ultron, I like how Ultron is. It makes sense to me because he is essentially Tony Stark. Like, Tony Stark created him, and he acts like Tony Stark. He's a wisecracking, dick. And I love it. He grabs Claw's arm and rips it off, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, no big deal. And the guy backs off and runs away. And just his wisecracks, and it's good stuff. I really like it. James Spader, I think, does a cool job. Yes, they could have went for the more dark, sinister, serious villain, but I like the way that this plays out because, as I said, it's almost like a dark version of Tony Stark. And he says that we've had our time. That we as humans had plenty of time to correct our wrongs, and we never have. And that's a place where I have a hard time arguing with him. People have had plenty of time. The fact that we still have wars, the fact that we still fucking, arm ourselves against one another is mind-blowing to me. How fucking stupid we are as a race. It pisses me off, actually. So I try not to talk about it too much. But yeah, I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I don't think the solution is killing everybody either, because that would be very counterproductive, especially also hypocritical. And so then Wanda, they go in there and they get this fight, and Wanda's in there, or Scarlet Witch, whatever you want to call her, and she takes control of the minds of Captain America, and Black Widow, and Thor, and she shows them all this shit they don't want to see. You got Cap going back to the 40s and getting that dance that he never got from Peggy. Oh, that was heartbreaking. And then you got Romanoff going and seeing her training and what she had to put up with, and you're like, oh man, she had a shit childhood. And then you got Thor's on Asgard, and he's seeing all the ways things could go wrong. And then I love that she tries to take over Hawkeye's mind, and he's like, sorry, I've already done mind control. Not a fan. He like shoots her, knocks her out, and then Quicksilver comes in and helps her. But I love that sequence of, call back there to all of the Avengers first movie. Like, no, man, Hawkeye has already been mind possessed in this franchise. We're not doing that shit again. So good callback there. And then Wanda has, she has to endure essentially what these people are feeling. You can see it takes a toll on her when these people are having their visions and whatever is going on in their minds. They just can't handle it. She's sitting there and she's screaming and this and that, and it's like, oh man, that's a huge downside to her power, that she would have to feel all the misery that these people are going through. Although it would keep you from using it all that much and in horrible ways, because if you have to suffer the consequences of what they're feeling, you're not as apt to use it as much. So I guess it's kind of like a built-in fail switch in a way. And then you've got the Hulk Buster fight, the big Iron Man suit versus the Hulk. This fucking fight scene alone is worth the price of admission. Anyone who paid $8, $9, $10, whatever, to go see this movie in theaters, that fight sequence alone is worth it. So anyone who's like, I hate this movie or whatnot, it was a waste, what? No way. There's so much cool shit in this movie. I'm sorry, absolutely not. But yeah, just after that whole fight sequence, I'm not going to get into. There's tons and tons of shit that goes on in there. They have to hide out because of what Hulk did. He smashed. That plays yet again into what happens in Civil War. And so this is where we go and we find Hawkeye's family. That no one but Black Widow knows about, and Natasha is the name of one of his kids. He named freaking Black Widow. He named one of his kids after Black Widow, which I thought was really enduring and like sweet. And I love it. I love that it grounds the movie a little bit. And everyone kind of goes off in their separate ways and has to think about things. And, you know, Natasha and Bruce have this moment, and I love the drama right there. That whole sequence between them, I think is great. And she actually mentions Hawkeye's house and his family. And I think Bruce is the one that's like, we can't have any of this. Like, this is it. And I don't know, it grounds the movie back into this place where we see the stakes. We see what they're fighting for. We see, you know, what it's done to these people. It's seeing what the toll that it's taken and all this. And I think that's such a cool moment in the movie, because you're just dealing with all these action, you know, pieces, and you're dealing with all these impossible things. And then the movie takes you into this grounded place and reminds you of like these, you know, these families. This is what it's all about. And, kind of makes everyone like, oh shit, you know. This is what we're looking for here. So I do really like that. So everyone takes off, and Thor goes off and has this vision, which is where Vision gets his name. He sees the Infinity Gauntlet. He sees everything's going down. And then you get Cap fighting Ultron, and they go in and they're trying to take his body that they're transporting. In this whole action sequence, freaking, you know, Natasha coming in on the motorcycle, dropping down from the ship and coming through the traffic like freaking Trinity and Matrix Reloaded. And the freaking car gets taken off and flown up into the sky, and they're fighting. It's badass. Such great action. So as I said, even if you're not big on lots of stuff in this movie, there's enough really cool action in this movie to at least hopefully get you into it. You got the train fight. You got so much cool shit here. You got Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver coming in and helping because they see what a monster Ultron is and how he deceived them. So now they're on their side. And Scarlet Witch really doesn't see a huge difference between Tony Stark and Ultron, which I can see why. And Tony wants to put Jarvis in the body, and he does, but everyone tries to stop him, except for Thor comes down and uses lightning to bring this guy to life. You know, if you're going to bring life into the world, I guess you got to get a god to do it, which puts the Mind Stone in Vision's head. It's good to, in these movies, pay attention to where the different Infinity Stones are in this movie, in all the movies. It's cool to be like, oh, it's here, and now this is here, and now that's here, so that when I finally get to Infinity War in this view through, I'll be like, I know where everything is. And then Vision really comes out and is like, I'm not on anyone's side. Like, I'm on the side of life. Like, you don't think I'm here just for you guys. I'm gonna do what's best. And when he picks up Thor's hammer like it's nothing and just hands it to him, you're like, what the fuck? And that's a great conversation between them where he's like, well, he's not really a person, so it doesn't really count. Like, is an elevator, if it can lift it up, is that make it worthy? Great conversation. And Banner tries to go over to Romanoff once they're fighting over in Sokovia. And she's like, he's finally giving kind of what she wants in that moment, and she has to choose, and she has to realize, like, no, like, I'm sorry, I need Hulk, and pushes him off a fucking cliff. Oh man. And then, I love the team up stuff. I love there's a lot of, you see it in Avengers 1, you see it throughout the series. You see it with Cap throwing Black Widow up with his shield, but in this one you got Thor and Cap working together with his shield, so he's hitting the vibranium shield and just sending, it's so cool. I love how that all works out. Hawkeye gives Scarlet Witch this pep talk of like, if you go out there, you're one of the Avengers. Just bring it. Don't worry about what you did in the past. Just worry about right now. Everything looks like it's lost, and Nick Fury shows up with the helicarrier to transport everyone out of there, which is kind of ultimately what gets Quicksilver completely invested in the fight on their side of things. And then Tony, poor Tony, man. I mean, he really is a genius. He has to fly around while fighting all these robots and be thinking of how to stop this thing from going up and coming crashing down. His brain has to be going a million miles per hour to figure out how to do this while also controlling this and fighting all these bots and shit and trying to save people's lives. Tony's got one multitasking ass brain, let me tell you. And then you got the Avengers, because no one can touch that thing. No bot can touch that thing, or otherwise it'll start dropping and kill. As far as the rock, like the big rock coming up in the sky and coming back down and global knockout, I don't think it could be traveling fast enough to do that much damage. While it's still in our atmosphere, like maybe if it had propulsion on it, that was going to make it come down fucking way faster than it's currently traveling. But to just be like going this way and then to just drop, maximum velocity wouldn't really be that much. I'm not saying there wouldn't be a fallout. I'm not saying there wouldn't be some deaths. For sure there would be, but global catastrophe, I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I don't feel like that thing could get anywhere near high enough and go fast enough within our atmosphere to be able to do damage of that magnitude. But somebody is better at science and whatnot as me. Please let me know how I'm wrong. I'd like to hear it. And then so the Avengers have to take out like 500 bots trying to protect this thing, and then Thor, Vision, and Iron Man all like beam into Ultron at once, which is essentially his demise. And Quicksilver has to sacrifice himself for Hawkeye, and you think Hawkeye's dead. Like, you show the family, and you're just like, oh no, Hawkeye's going down, isn't he? And then it happens, and you're like, oh, like, it sucks that he has to die. He's a new character, so I don't really care. I did kind of like him, but oh man, if you took Hawkeye away from his family, that would have been rough for sure. And then Scarlet Witch, that pisses her off enough to go rip Ultron's heart out of his chest, which she's like, that's how it feels. And it's like, I don't think Ultron can feel anything, but I get the symbolism of it. And then Thor and Iron Man working together to save the city there. Good to see them teaming up after their, obvious discord they had in the first Avengers. And then Hulk bails, and Vision destroys Ultron. Obviously, there's an Audi deal going on with these movies, because every car you see in all of these movies is an Audi. And so Vision is the Supreme now, and they're training new Avengers, and freaking Thanos comes in at the end credits, grabs the Infinity Gauntlet, and is like, guess I'm gonna have to figure this shit out for myself. Don't send a fucking boy to do a man's job. So he's coming, man, and I can't wait to talk about that one. So moving on.